Okay, I had easily my favorite argument with a capitalist recently. It was with basically, so I'm in this Western philosophy class. It's taught by a Marxist. Most of the people in class are Marxists, and but there's this one girl who is pretty, like clearly very into capitalism, and she kind of turns to me and goes, like, I don't get, because I was talking with a friend of mine about like socialism and socialist ideas, and she goes, I don't get why anyone would want to live in a communist society.
Yeah,
that's what she says, and I'm like, well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I was like, so what are your things with capitalism? And she just lists like, oh, it's just, why would you want to live in communism? And I'm like, well, I go, well, think about it, like, the worker is really producing everything, and like they're being exploited by the capitalists. And she goes, yeah. She goes, yeah, absolutely. And then I go like, yeah, but you got to think about something, right? The people at the top, it's not like they worked there; they just ended up there. And she goes, yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. And then she just goes, I just keep going, and she's like, people are being exploited under this system. It's definitely something that goes against what most people want. And she goes, yeah, no, you're totally right. She agrees on the labor theory of value. She agrees on socialist exploitation. She agrees on the negative effects of capitalism for the majority of people. Her argument is essentially, yeah, that's dope. Yeah,
that's sick.
That's pretty much it. That's like the end of it.
It is the most honest capitalist I think you'll ever meet in your life.
Like, she was just like, I remember she said like, yeah, I want, she said like word for word, yeah, I want to exploit people.
I forgot about that.
I remember
I want to exploit people. Obviously.
I remember I said it's just, why would anyone in the proletariat want to live under capitalism? And she goes, why would anyone in the bourgeoisie want to live under socialism?
That's base.
It's like, well, most people are the proletariat. And she's like, yeah, but but the bourgeoisie though. And she didn't, that was like the end of her argument. It was just, yeah, but the bourgeoisie.
Okay, but
no, she didn't even do the classic one.
Yeah, she's just
she agrees everything.
No, yeah, it's not like she's making points, or she was making points against socialism or for capitalists. She was just agreeing with everything.
She was like, yes, and all the things you're saying is right. That's like, awesome.
She's like, that's the point. I love it. Everything you're telling me right now, that's a negative quotation marks.
W.
Goated. She's like, capitalism, goated. Exploitation, goated.
It was so funny.
Unequal outcomes, goated.
Goated as a fuck.
No healthcare, goated. Starving, goated.
No, she said that? Basically, she didn't say starving is goated, but I was like,
everybody can be fed.
Basically, I was like, it's like, well, why shouldn't people go with food? And she's like, why should people have food if they can't afford it?
Why should everyone be fed?
Yes, she said that. She said, why should people have food?
Why should everyone be fed?
Why should people have food if they can't afford it? Like 30 minutes.
You're leaving some things out.
No, I swear he was there.
I was watching it. Like, I was watching it unfold.
No, like, you're leaving out funny stuff.
Oh, there's probably something.
There has to be more in there, right?
There's probably some funny stuff.
Why should people be able to have food if they can't?
If they can't afford it.
If they can't work, they can't provide for a society.
Go get a job at McDonald's.
Just
get it. Sounds like a little lost.
She
Did you ask her if her dad owns a business or something?
Yeah, you probably should have done
that. No, I actually talked to her, like, so are you like in like the upper class? She's like, no.
There's no fucking way.
She's like, but but maybe I will be one day. And I'm like, well, that's not really likely. And she's like, yeah, I know.
That's so based.
That's so based. That's the most based fucking take.
Anyways, welcome to the Lindahlian Theory Podcast, hosted by
Ethan Haslauer
and Oliver Lorgen, with an audience consisting of two of our friends
who will remain unnamed. He just tried to play a Vine sound effect.
What? Why are you? What is going on? He's supposed to be our sound guy.
You stupid.
There we go. All right, we're off to a great start.
All right.
So since this is our first episode, I want to go ahead and get the point of this podcast out of the way. So essentially, we kind of define ourselves as two very distinct things. First of all, we're Marxists. We believe in the teachings of Karl Marx, Frederick Engels, that sort of school of thought.
That sort of jazz.
We're anti-capitalists. But specifically,
we're anti-capitalists getting business degrees.
Exactly, which is hilarious. But the second thing we are is John Lindahl fans.
God bless.
Just like lovers of John Lindahl.
Love that man.
So the point of this podcast is we're going to take a Marxist analysis of the music of John Lindahl. And if you're unfamiliar with John Lindahl, he is a singer-songwriter currently signed to Bobby Boy Records. He had a history at Epic.
He worked with people such as Justin Timberlake. I think he was on the X Factor.
Yeah, he was, and he also works. He works very directly with Logic. Logic is because Logic runs Bobby Boy Records. He's a very talented singer. And
What?
Did you show you some?
I see so many Vine sound effects.
Okay, there's so many Vine sound effects.
Apparently there are too many.
They cost money.
I don't think that's in the budget.
We can't afford Vine sound effects. But so yeah, he's an incredibly talented singer songwriter signed to Bobby Boy Records, and he's released one studio album in 2020 called Opening Night. It was his debut record. He had some singles before that, but I really think he hit his stride with Opening Night. If you were to ask me,
take a picture for the gram.
Yeah, get a gram photo. Yeah. But I really think he hit his stride with Opening Night. But recently he's dropped, first of all, a new single called AMF, which was really really good. It had like a cool 80s kind of vibe to it. But specifically, he introduced us to a new character named Johnny, who is from the year 1989, and he's like a time traveler type thing, I think, or is it
He's
just
a time traveler?
I'd assume he's from 1989, or is
So
it
he
just
time travels?
or is it just actually okay? That hasn't been specified. I don't want to put words.
So basically, yeah, you.
We
don't know much yet. He has made one post.
Well, two.
2 posts?
Yeah, remember he did the one of him explaining that he's not
Oh
going to
yes, he's
Instagram
leaving
anymore?
social media, and Johnny.
Yeah, that's where we found out who Johnny was. Found out that we found out that Well, you don't mind me getting a little sip?
No, I don't mind at all.
Okay,
It's
good.
Okay, you can keep going.
So we found out who Johnny was. Found out that he's from 1989.
Anyways, I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Okay, well,
I think we need to stick to explain the premise. Basically, not only will we be discussing John Lindahl's music through a Marxist perspective, basically how his music interacts with Marxist theory. We'll also be criticizing it a bit, because I think true fans do that.
Well, there are criticisms to make. I do believe that he is a incredibly talented individual, and I believe that the music he's put out is remarkable. There are just some light constructive criticisms. And that's how you know that these criticisms are going to be constructive, because it's followed by a Vine boom sound effect. But speaking of that, I feel like the biggest criticism you're probably going to see recurring is of sound design.
Well, anyways, you're still getting ahead of yourself.
Okay, sorry. You got to keep me in check.
I know, I do got to keep you in check. You just start ranting. But not only will we be discussing John Lindahl, his music, criticisms, praises, Marxist theory, we'll also be discussing other Bobby Boy record artists.
And we might even branch out beyond that, do some artists outside of Bobby Boy Records
if we feel a little frisky.
That might be a while. Right now, we're just going to focus on Bobby Boy Records and John Lindahl specifically.
Yeah, this episode.
This episode, and for the next few episodes, we're going to be focusing on John Lindahl. I mean, we are, right?
I mean, we're at least going to have 10 hours of content.
We're going to have a lot of John Lindahl content before we get into
at least
anything.
25 hours of content.
Yeah.
Is this sponsored by John Lindahl?
No,
This is sponsored
this is
by
not
John
sponsored by
Lindahl.
John
It is
Lindahl.
not, but hopefully he sees it and does sponsor us.
Hopefully we can get him on the
But-
podcast.
Good transition. This is sponsored by
Dollar Shave Club. That's right.
Woo! Can we get applause from the crowd? Let's go.
So yes, it's sponsored by Dollar Shave Club. Should we go ahead and do the ad read now?
Yeah, go ahead and do the ad read.
Okay, so Dollar Shave Club is a monthly subscription-based service for razors. Now, we all have experienced the feeling of buying razors, right? Like they're locked behind a little cabinet. You have to get like some service worker to come over and like unlock it. It's a whole hassle. With Dollar Shave Club, for just like $9.99 a month, they will send razors to your door, and it'll be clean razors. It comes with like little
$9.99.
I thought it was Dollar Shave Club.
$9 Shave Club. So yeah, they'll send razors to your house. They also have like wipes and some other things in there.
Do they have shaving cream?
They have shaving cream.
They have a whole kit.
Yeah, they have a whole kit for you.
Kit.
Sent every month, and it's really useful for those who like for example, Oliver here has he's got a pretty luscious beard.
I got a good beard. Not only do I got a good beard, I got thick hair.
Yeah. And he needs a good razor to go with it.
I really do.
And honestly, I can just say these are some of the highest quality razors I've ever used. Oliver, would you agree?
I mean, I have to.
Yeah, contractually. And in terms of like promo code or anything, we actually didn't get one because we are not sponsored by Dollar Shave Club.
You were fucking pranked, you fucking idiots.
Get fucked, nerds.
You fucking idiots. Get pranked. You're so fucking
I don't
stupid.
even think the box is $9.99. I just threw a fucking number out my ass.
We just made fucking shit up. The razors could fucking suck for all we know.
It's $9. I was
It is
actually kind of
$9?
close.
Holy shit.
Okay, I'm a fucking prophet. But yeah,
Goddamn.
So no, we aren't sponsored by Dollar Shave Club. This is our first episode. We are a bunch of teenagers in a basement. We don't have any sponsorships,
But we will.
Once this podcast takes off.
And once we get those business degrees in 4 years.
Yes. So, should we go ahead and talk about what this episode's going to be?
Well, I think you already kind of did for a little bit.
Well, I mean, but we didn't talk about what this episode in particular is going to be.
Well, then, yeah, go on.
Well, so this episode is going to be focused on a dissection of what I would describe as John Lindahl's. Well, of course, I mean it's only his only album as of now. I was gonna say it's his masterwork, but that's hard.
No, it's not his only album. You have Opening Night and you have a John Lindahl Holiday.
Oh well, he does have a John Lindahl Holiday.
I believe that's what it's called. Hey, can we get that? Can we get that up on the?
No.
Okay.
Fact check.
Well, okay, I'm pretty sure it's called a John Lindahl Holiday.
Hey, Jamie, can we get that? Can we get that up on the computer?
Hey, while we're here, you ever tried DMT?
Me?
Yeah, you ever tried DMT?
No.
No?
No.
You ever tried DMT, Owen?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Owen's tried DMT. Yeah. It's a whole other world, man. They're researching that shit. Anyway, so
Jamie, can we get it on the?
Okay, so it is a John. I looked it up on my phone.
He's actually got 3 albums.
He has 3?
Well, I think he's including.
No.
Opening Night,
You're
the
including
complete
like the
score.
deluxe edition.
Yeah,
right?
Opening Night, the
Opening
complete
score.
score.
Screen with the fact checker?
Yes, I'm Joe Rogan.
No.
Jamie.
No, you're right.
I have so much horse medicine up my ass right now,
Bro, I got so much tar in my lungs right now.
bro.
I don't even need the vaccine, dude.
Dude, ivermectin is running through my veins.
I got so much ivermectin. I work out all the time, actually.
Yeah, I work out.
I work
and
out
then
so much. I don't need the vaccine.
I work out and then I go home and I shove ivermectin up my ass. But anyway,
I love how we're already shooting shots.
yeah, we're already shooting
Already-
shots. And
Bro.
we're already starting beef. But anyway, so today we're going to be analyzing what I would argue is John Lindahl's magnum opus as of now, which is Opening Night. It was his debut record. He's described it as a summation of his journey as an artist. And then we're going to be looking at that from a Marxist, materialist lens. And then we are going to
What's funny?
what is it?
What's funny?
I love
What-
Marxism.
Yeah, you love
I
Marxism?
just love it so
Yeah.
much. I'm just so ecstatic to
Yeah.
hear that you're
Yeah.
doing this analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that I just can't contain myself.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine.
Okay. Anyway, so we're gonna do a Marxist analysis of opening night. We're gonna try to take it track by track. Although, given
what's funny?
they're looking
What
at
is so
they're
funny?
looking at shit on Instagram.
We're looking at
They're looking at shit on Instagram.
looking at
But
God.
so that's how you can tell they're looking at shit on Instagram, because they find fucking Vine boom sound effect. But I don't know if we're gonna get through the entirety of opening night, because the thing with John Lindahl is that he is a very dense lyricist, right? He's someone who there's a lot of, sometimes his songs get criticized for like I see them criticized a lot for their like, sometimes they can get a little repetitive. Specifically like I'm the greatest, there's like one verse and just choruses, which I personally see.
You cannot see it, but we brought up our notes for this, and Owen is in awe.
This is more work than he's ever put into school.
Honestly, we could make the cover just the doc of our notes.
Yeah, I mean,
we could
sure.
make the podcast. It's just
An
the
entire
doc.
page is filled just for the song "Famous."
Yeah, it's just famous.
But I mean, that's the point I was making, is that he's
It's
a
dense.
very dense lyricist, and that's why I don't have any issue. This is why I don't have any yesterday. This is why I don't have any issue with
this morning.
the sort of repetitiveness of John Lindahl's music, because he's saying so much.
He says a lot with so few words.
Exactly. But then, I mean, take for example a song like "Famous," which we're going to spend a good chunk of this podcast dissecting, which he says a lot, and there's not a lot of repetitiveness in "Famous." That's not a critique I'd throw at that song. I don't think anyone would. And as a result, I have a long list of notes on how that reflects the working class, and how that is reflective of the struggle between proletariat and bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be really going into the album.
What's funny?
Like I said, Oliver, they can't hear them. These are condenser mics.
No, I know, but I
I
don't care if
they're
they can't
on
hear.
fucking Instagram.
They weren't even on Instagram. I think they think this is funny. What? Oh, fuck. I have to like go back, I have to go back and check if that peaks the audio.
And
I have to do
if
that,
it does,
right?
leave it in. That'd be so funny.
I can't.
That's fucking hilarious.
I can't.
You're just listening to fucking the John Lindahl podcast, and then
That I also have to check now.
okay. Anyway,
We got this full last page of notes. You might as well use it.
so we're gonna try to we're gonna try to take it track by track, but that actually might be a little difficult because it's so dense. But then on top of that, we're going to analyze some of the beginnings of his lore regarding his new character Johnny, which he has told us.
Or should we go over that at the end?
I was thinking we would do that at the end, and we would start with opening night. But do you think we should do it the other way around?
No, I think we should start with opening night, right? And then,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then do that at the end.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So at the end, we're gonna go over
Okay. Yeah. I get
his new character Johnny, which Lindahl has said, like, everything he does is very intentional. So we're going to be really careful looking over this, and of course we're going to be looking at it from a materialist lens. So should we just go ahead and hop into it with Famous, or should we? No, hold up. Let's start by talking about like the overall themes of the album.
Oh, yeah.
So, would you agree with me when like I would say that
Yes.
well, that's easy.
Yeah. I think you
Okay.
got it on the head right there.
So you would agree
Yeah.
with me? You don't know what I'm about to fucking
No,
say.
but I agree.
You don't know what I'm about to
It
say.
could be
I could
anything.
ruin your life.
Yeah, you could.
But I'm not going to. So I would say that the main, I guess, thesis of opening night mostly revolves around competition, because the album as a whole, there's a lot of themes throughout. Definitely like fame is a big one, and love is a big one. But throughout all of that, there's undertones of competition. I mean, you look at tracks like Honest, which is about like competition between like him and another man over this woman. You look at I think Famous is a great example. I think that Idols is another great example where he talks about how he's overcome all the competition and overcome like the boundaries of like like Def Jam not signing him.
No, it was Epic Records.
Epic Records, not my bad. Sorry.
God bless Def Jam. They signed him.
Yeah, Epic Records is on some fuck shit.
Yeah, they
they
don't
passed
know
up
what they thought they were.
They passed up Kanye. They passed up Gaga, and JT's about to be on the top of that list. I mean, JL's about to be on the top of that list.
Yeah, JT.
Not Justin Timberlake. JL's about to be on the top of that list. That's what he says in Idols, which I think is there's a lot to say about that from a Marxist lens. We'll get into that line.
What's so funny, Oliver?
I'm looking at you. You're funny. Yeah.
But so I think that this is incredibly interesting to look at it from because capitalism as a system is run by competition.
Yeah.
Which is what opening night's main theme is. And here's the thing. When people hear me say that capitalism is run by competition, they immediately think of like corporations competing. But I would argue that's not entirely the case, because it's always been my opinion that one of the greatest tools, actually I would argue the greatest tool of the bourgeoisie, is to turn the working class against itself.
That's true.
And there's a lot of ways they do that. It can be either through, like simple things like different positions and staffing. Like you'll have managers, you'll have people who are higher up, so they feel the sense of superiority and therefore go against. Another way they do it is by instilling this idea that like if you work hard, the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing, that's a tool of the bourgeoisie. That's how they...
Well, you can even go broader and bring politics into it.
Yeah. And if you really go broad, you can find things like race divisions.
Yep.
Race divisions, gender divisions, sexuality divisions. These are all tools to pit the working class against each other. And I actually think that throughout this album, at many points, Lindahl touches on exactly that. Specifically how the proletariat are forced on each other by the bourgeoisie.
And I should say, I encourage you guys to listen to the album.
Absolutely.
I encourage you to listen to the album before you listen to this, so you know what we're talking.
And try to form your own opinions in a sense, because there's a lot to say about this record.
Yeah, and you could listen to it and think that we're coming out of left field, right? I mean,
literally left field.
You could. Come on, Brandon, you got to do that.
Come on, hold up. Okay, Brandon, pull it up. All right. Literally left field.
You
took a fucking screenshot.
God, Jesus. Wait, do it again. Say it again.
Literally. Fucker. Okay, fuck it. Go back. Okay, go back. Go back. Anyway, yeah. Keep going, Oliver.
Where was I?
You were talking about how we could be coming out of left field.
Oh, yeah, we could be, you could be listening to the record and what he's saying and think that we're maybe digging in either too deep or digging not even near anything.
Which I think honestly both of those arguments could be made.
Those are completely valid, but fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you. This is our podcast, our opinions.
And then maybe even Lindahl himself thinks we're crazy, but
hey, because if Lindahl sees this, we can hope.
Which he will.
You think he will?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd hope so. But if Lindahl sees this and listens and thinks y'all are fucking insane, that's fine. Because the thing with art is that once it's put into the world, it's not yours anymore. It's the people's. And I think Lindahl would agree with that. I think that he's someone who encourages people to interpret his work. I think that's why he's doing the whole lore thing.
I agree.
So this is kind of like this is ours to interpret and ours to take however we will.
Hey, get out of the way. I need to see the notes.
And as people who subscribe to Marx's both theory of history and like how he believes and predicts future events will go through, I really do think that we can add a bit of insight into how that perspective can shine on Lindahl's music.
All right. Yeah. So now that that's gotten across. Let's get into it.
So should we just go ahead and start with Famous?
Yeah, that's first track, intro track.
So the thing with the song Famous.
Hey, have you guys heard it? I think you've heard it.
I don't think I've actually heard this song.
Okay, they're not really Lindahl fans. I mean, obviously we're huge fans, so we
Lindahl fans.
forced it upon them over and over again.
What do you think if we play some of the music Lindahl would like?
Let's play it safe first episode.
Why? I mean, it's not like we're making money off of this, right?
I mean,
Does it matter?
we would technically be able to make money off of this. Like, technically. We won't, but technically we can.
All right. Well, we'll try and get.
We'll get the
Permission
Lindahl
from
the
him.
Lindahl seal of approval first. Also, how would we even play music?
I literally just blasted through the.
Okay, that is one way.
Yeah.
But so opening night. Okay, here, let me pull up the lyrics because I've always thought that some of the most important like moments on a record are the ones that begin and end it. So here, let's go ahead and pull up Famous John
Lindahl.
So it opens with the lines, "I've come a long way from home, all the nights that I've cried alone. After all of the pain I've known, I think that my future is bright for once." Now, this is actually a really interesting passage, and I think you would agree with me.
Of course.
So the thing with this, he expresses pain, but then expresses the future. Now, if you've read any Marx, one of the first things...
most of our audience probably has.
I mean, most...
No, I think most people, right?
I've read, like...
Marx? Like most people have read the Communist Manifesto, right?
I mean, a lot of people have, especially a lot of people on the left, I guess.
No. Like most people. Like if you were born, you've read the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah, it's something like elementary.
I was taught it like in 3rd grade.
Oh, you're fucking with me.
No, I was taught it in 3rd grade.
That's right.
Like it was like my reading assignment.
You take Marxist Theory 101.
Yeah, Marxist Theory 101.
You didn't read it when you were 10 years old?
I Spark Notes did. Come on, you know I don't read shit.
Fucking bitch.
I read it later, okay?
It's already so short.
I know, I read it later. But anyway, so even if you've read... But
actually, I will say, when in 3rd grade, when we were reading the Communist Manifesto, it was whoever read it the fastest would be taken to McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the competition.
And guess who fucking Spark Notes did? And went to fucking McDonald's. Bitch.
Okay, you got me there.
But anyway, so yeah, so if you've read any Marx, you know one of the big things is that I'd almost describe Marx, although Marx himself would describe himself as a revolutionary. I would almost say that that's incorrect, which I feel like is obviously hard to say that what Marx thinks about himself is wrong. But I would almost describe him more as like someone who looked at how things are and said, this is how things are going to go. He was less starting revolution himself, more acknowledging that this is what's going to happen. Because he basically expressed that the basic contradiction under capitalism is the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The bourgeoisie have conflicting interests with the proletariat, and because the proletariat are the majority, they are going to rise up and overtake the bourgeoisie for political and economic power. Now,
Damn right.
In Famous, Lindahl is speaking from the perspective of the proletariat. He talks about, pain and nights that he's cried alone, which is a very important word. He says alone because... Keyword is alone because
highlight
that shows how we're divided under capitalism to avoid class-conscious uprising. So when he says, I think that my future is bright for once, he's showing that a socialized economy in the future is both inevitable and a net positive.
Sorry.
What?
Our audience is going a little batshit crazy right now.
Do you have any comments on just that passage?
Not really. I mean, I think you've pretty much hit it on the head there. I don't really have anything to add now.
Okay. So I think that when it comes to the chorus, right? It's very important, right? So okay, so he says I want to be famous, but not for the money, not for the cars. I just want the whole world to know I'm a star. Now, looking at this from a Marxist perspective yields some pretty interesting results. So, as a singer and songwriter and multi-instrumentalist, Lindahl is first and foremost a laborer. And as Marx expresses in what I would personally consider his masterwork, Capital, the main goal of labor for the laborer is to provide for the means of subsistence. That's what he described, like what you need essentially, to to live, like what you need to live. Stuff like food, shelter. That's the means of subsistence. And something that could be arguably a part of the means of subsistence is cars. Like nowadays, when because driving is a pretty necessary part of life. And honestly, you could even argue money is a part of the means of subsistence under capitalism because you need it to survive. So in this, by saying that he's doing it not for the money or the cars, he's actually like rejecting the idea of his labor even for the means of subsistence, which I find just incredibly interesting and a really interesting way to like, I don't know, just to look at that passage and the way to take Marx from a perspective of like labor being used outside of means of subsistence.
So how do you think this ties into Cars 2?
Cars 2, the movie?
Yeah.
Well, if we look at that from a Marxist perspective, so Cars 2 is the one
Well,
about...
not just that, but how John Lindahl has tied into Cars 2.
Yes. Cars 2 is the one about the government agency and the fucking secret agents and shit, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Secret agent Mater, where they go into the fucking...
I've thrown you a layup now.
You've thrown me a layup? Yeah, well, it's actually kind of interesting if you look at it from a Cars 2 perspective.
So basically what Ethan's trying to say, right? So connecting John Lindahl's reference to Cars 2 in his line that you just described. Cars 2 is about secret agents, right? It's agents doing their thing, right? So we know that multitudes of times that the CIA have led
to like assassinate socialist leaders,
yes,
and like orchestrate coups in like
yes,
South America.
Yeah,
I think
Chile is a
great example.
Great example.
Democratically elected leader assassinated by the CIA. Well, Moore was assassinated by government-funded death squads, which also peddled drugs into the inner cities of America. Fuck Ronald Reagan. That's the moral of the story about Chile. But continue.
No, I think that's you got it. That's how Cars 2 is connected. I think that Cars 2 is a criticism on the CIA and how they took down socialist leaders in order to keep capitalism as the...
So do you think that like
global economy,
Lindahl bringing cars into is like referencing...
I think it's a bit of a stretch. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a bit of a stretch.
Without a doubt.
But it did make me think about Cars 2.
Is it just because he said the word cars?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the next line... If you keep going in Famous, you get
to the next stanza.
The next, just the ending of the chorus. Although there is a bit more to dissect in the chorus that I wanted to think about. And this I honestly don't know what to think of. He says, "Give me changes, God knows I need it." Now, Marx is pretty famously anti-religion. You know about... What's funny? What's what?
Just go on.
What?
Nothing.
He was.
Yes, I know.
He was very famously anti-religion.
I know.
He described it as the opiate of the masses. That was the term he used.
Yes.
So it's interesting that Lindahl would who like has kind of shown these revolutionary tendencies in his music. It's really interesting that he would show these like religious elements. It's almost as though he's kind of... This is my take on it, and I want to hear yours too, because I'm not really sure how I feel about this. It's almost as though he's setting himself apart from Marx as like a revolutionary of like a different ilk. like he doesn't agree totally with Marx, which I would argue that that's a good place to disagree with Marx. Like I'm not a religious man personally, but I think that the one of the biggest criticisms to be made about earlier socialist experiments, especially in the Soviet Union, was their repression of religious ideas. Like all religious ideas, you weren't allowed to be religious, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which I think was a horrible mistake and a horrible failure, and something that should not be, like accepted or let slide by, like modern day socialists like you or I. So I'm wondering if that is a way of him kind of distancing himself from Marx, or what do you think?
I'm just trying to think about how it relates to Cars 2.
Why did he bring it to Cars 2? This is a Marxist analysis of John Lindahl, not a Cars 2 analysis of John Lindahl.
Sorry, I don't know. I'm still, I'm still on both.
You said on both?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I might catch a little flack for this. There's a little less substance in Cars 2 when compared to the entire collected works of Karl Marx.
I think I get your point. But we can all agree that Cars 1 is obviously the best movie in the series.
Cars 2 is better.
I think
Cars 2 is absolutely better. Are you kidding me? Secret agent plot? That's fucking based.
What about planes?
Beat the authenticity and the originality of the first
There is something that can beat the authenticity and originality of the first Cars, and it's a fucking secret agent plot. It's a goddamn that beats the authenticity. It's a secret agent plot.
But like, how do the cars make children?
How do the cars make children?
Cars.
So let's
fuck.
go. So let's go into this, right?
Cars fuck. It's not that hard of a concept to grasp. But anyway,
Can we call it the Cars 2 Theory Podcast?
so I want to get into one that has a little more substance, where Lindahl says, "Careful what you wish for, but I don't care. I'm gonna be famous." I actually have a lot to say about this.
Of course, you have a lot to say about it.
So, with this line, we actually can kind of see Lindahl engaging in like sort of Marxist infighting. This
Quite
is
common.
which I mean, yeah,
Quite common.
especially from Leninists, dude. Leninists don't shut the fuck up. All right, if the Marxist community hears this, they're gonna hate me for it. Lenin's greatest contribution to theory was making Marxists hate themselves. So we see a bit of infighting with him on this line. Careful what you wish for, but I don't care. I'm gonna be famous. Because it's common for Marxists to sort of disavow people who try to climb the class ladder. Lindahl is someone who makes it very clear that the capital element of fame is not something he's necessarily looking for. We know that from the earlier line, not for the money, not for the cars. I just want the whole world to know I'm a star. Capital still comes with fame, and I think Lindahl is well aware of this. But what I find interesting about this line is that by saying like, I don't care if you believe that I shouldn't be attempting to climb to the bourgeoisie, that is actually closer to Marx than a lot of people who would go against that are. Because you see, I think it's a key point that is missed by a lot of Marxists is that Marx never really made a moral argument against capitalism.
Right.
He doesn't believe that those on the top are necessarily bad people. He believes that the system in which the workers have control of means of production would be more free than one in which a separate class does.
You'd create more of a democracy.
Exactly. I got a quote here from chapter 10 of Das Kapital, which, is, again, arguably Marx's masterwork. He says, "The capitalist maintains his rights as a purchaser when he tries to make the working day as long as possible, and to make, whenever possible, 2 working days out of 1. On the other hand, the peculiar nature of the commodity sold implies a limit to its consumption by the purchaser, and the laborer maintains his right as seller when he wishes to reduce the working day to one of definite normal duration. There is here, therefore, and I'm reading Marx, not time for Vine Boom sound effects. Okay, there is here, therefore, an antinomy. Right against right, both equally bearing the seal of the law of exchanges between equal rights, the law of exchanges. Between equal rights, forced asides. Hence is it that in the history of capitalist production, the determination of what is a working day presents itself as the result of a struggle, or a struggle between the collective capital, i.e. the class of the capitalists, and collective labor, i.e. the working class. So what I find interesting about this is that he, and especially if you read the rest of this passage, because I didn't, quote like a fucking chapter of Capital. Marx is not someone who's very, broad with his words. He's very precise. Now, specifically quoting this, like, he essentially expresses, like, yes, the capitalist, throughout Capitalist says this, the capitalist has a right to extend the working day. He bought it. He bought this commodity of labor. Again, it's not a moral thing. And there's another quote from him. I tried to find it online and couldn't because I don't actually know what the exact source is. But he said it to something along the lines of, like, what is a just distribution? Because there's people who bring up, like, socialism is more just. He's like, what is a just distribution? Is the bourgeois distribution as it stands not just according to, like, bourgeois mentality? And he's not even saying that in the sense of, like, oh, the bourgeoisie has, like, programmed us to think this. He's more saying it in a sense of, like, yeah, like, what is justice? Like, I mean, this is just as fair as any other idea of justice.
Right.
It's not a moral argument. It is a freedom argument. And I feel like that is shown by that line.
Which line was it again?
Careful what you wish for, but I don't care. I'll be famous.
Just in case we,
Just in
it was
case
forgotten.
someone forgot. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've been talking a lot. You got anything you want to say about famous?
No, I think because you've got your notes down. You've got your I've got a lot on honest.
Yeah, I actually struggled a bit with honest.
Yeah, you struggled on one, but I got some heat on honest. So, I think you taking lead on this one is fine.
Okay. Well, there's another one that I really think is pretty interesting. In the verse, he says, "If they say they love me, would it mean a thing? And if she said she needs me, what would I have to pay?" This is fascinating.
This is interesting.
This is fascinating.
This is interesting.
So
how does it relate to Cars 3?
I don't. What happens in Cars 3 again?
It's the one where he's like, where he's like, what's his name? McQueen.
Yeah, McQueen.
He's like getting old, and
Cars age.
Apparently, and like there's these like faster, like more like up to date cars, and they're like beating him in races. Mm-hmm. So like you're thinking, his prime is come to an end.
Yeah,
but it's about him, trying to get his career back on track and like getting.
It's like a rebound story.
Yeah. So how does that relate to Cars 3?
Shit, this is a real stumper. Maybe because like he's receiving a lot of love from people who like just know him as like this like famous racer. I don't know. I'm not a Cars 3 expert personally.
Me neither.
Then why the fuck do you keep bringing up the Cars series?
I think who's the studio? Is it Pixar?
Pixar, yeah.
I just think Pixar is a great studio, and I think
it'd be hard to disagree with you there.
Well, what? How are we disagreeing here?
I said be hard to disagree with you.
Oh, hard, yes. And I think a lot of their work promotes socialism.
That is a tough argument to make. That a corporation promotes socialism.
The people within the there's the company, there's the corporation, but there are still the workers within it.
I guess. That reminds me of that PragerU video where they're like, oh yeah, the liberals and left are different, which is true. The liberals and the left are different, but they make the claim that the left is like big tech corporations and shit.
Yeah, I fucking wish.
I wish, dude.
Bro.
That'd be fucking amazing. Imagine if every big tech corporation was like, you know what? We're going to have the workers' union take over the company. Instead
Base
of
as hell.
Fucking Amazon literally stifling unions. Fuck that guy.
Couldn't stifle that one, though.
Yes. That dude's so base, dude. They fired him and he still made a union.
Yeah.
That's so fucking sick. Anyway, so this line he says, if they say they hate me, would it mean a thing? And if she says she needs me, well, what do I have to pay? So I personally interpreted this as a reflection of Marx's idea of the bourgeois family, which he expressed in Chapter 2 of the Communist Manifesto, with the quote, "On what foundation is the present family, the bourgeois family, based? On capital, on private gain. In its completely developed form, this family exists only among the bourgeoisie. But this state of things finds its complement in the practical absence of the family among the proletarians and in public prostitution." Now, the thing with this is that I feel like this is, and Marx kind of goes a little bit more into, like, throughout Capital, kind of touches on how the family becomes another commodity, another source of exploitation. I've heard it described as the commodification of the family. I feel like what Lindahl is kind of reflecting on here is how, like, even something as base and human as love is being distorted by capital, and that's why he says, like, well, what I have to pay, like, what does it cost?
Right.
Which I just find incredibly interested in saying, and said in some. I mean, Marx wrote a goddamn chapter about this, and Lindahl said it in a fucking lyric,
fucking
That's
bar.
impressive. And now, okay, I got one more note from this song, okay, and it's where Lindahl says, "But everybody in the world is trying to get in my head. They want to hold me down, but I'm almost there." So, I would say this is Lindahl sort of looking at his own. This is him looking at his life as a revolutionary, less as an artist. Specifically, I think that he's looking at this from a not just a Marxist perspective, but a Marxist-Leninist perspective. Because what is Lenin's State and Revolution, which, by the way, for all those Leninists who are mad about that comment I made about fucking Lenin earlier, I have read State and Revolution. I have read Lenin, and I still have a lot of respect for Lenin. I'm not personally a Leninist.
Hey, fuck you.
Cool.
Hey, fuck you.
Cool. I would argue that the thesis of State and Revolution. Well, I mean, it's hard to say the thesis of State and Revolution because, I mean, there's a lot of points to be made in State and Revolution. But one of the main, I guess, connecting themes throughout that book is sort of this idea that Marx has been distorted by these people who Lenin calls opportunists. Specifically, he rails on Kautsky a lot, and other people who, especially people who like are sort of anti-revolutionary. He talks about the distortion of like Marx's message, and I think that there's honestly a phenomenal quote by Lenin where he says, after like great revolutionaries' deaths, attempts are made to turn them into harmless icons, canonize them, and surround their names with a certain halo for the consolation of the oppressed classes, and with the object of duping them, while at the same time emasculating and vulgarizing the real essence of their revolutionary theories, and blunting the revolutionary edge. That's in like the first paragraph. That's like pretty early in the book. So I would argue that when he's saying, the world's trying to get in his head, he's talking about these sort of opportunists. People trying to listen to his message, and of course, it's it's hard to say because Lindahl has not passed away, thank God, thank the Lord.
God bless his health.
But but because he's so I feel like he's so familiar with this concept, he already knows that these opportunists are going to try to alter his ideas. That's what he means by they're getting in his head. They're trying to listen, like try to figure out what he's trying to say and shift it to their own sort of narrative.
Right.
And the thing with that is that especially with like they're trying to hold me down. They're trying to hold down his message, his revolutionary perspective.
Right.
And so this is I feel like almost like a sort of I guess pre-announcement, like, hey, I don't Like, people are going to blunt my revolutionary edge, like Lenin says, but, you know where my heart is, you know where I'm coming from. That's how I personally see it. And that's my last note on Famous. Is there anything you want to say about this track?
I mean, I think you hit it pretty damn hard.
I think so.
Over and over again with your Marxist interpretation. I don't really think there's much to add, but we can actually talk about the song.
Oh yeah, that part.
The actual musical parts.
Yeah.
So Famous. I wish we could listen to it again. Should we listen to it again and then come back?
Well, I mean, I know the song pretty well, just because I've heard it so many times.
Yeah.
The thing with Famous is that it's very grand, which I like a lot. I really like just, I guess, the scope of it. There's like horns, there's strings, like there's just this massive array of instruments backing Lindahl's very, like charismatic and like weighty voice.
So, I will say, yeah, I think it's the part after the like 80s rock inspired, like
Yeah.
I think it's like it's right after the intro.
Mm-hmm.
The strings part, like the strings and he's singing and everything, it's quite, the strings are quite beautiful.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole song really is.
But that's part specifically.
Yeah, it stands out.
It's really good. But I will say, so if we're taking it, I feel like we should dissect it, section by section. The intro makes sense with the piano and singing and and all that. But I feel like when the 80s rock band comes in the middle of the song, I feel like I like how ambitious it is. Right.
I mean, absolutely.
I like the ambition.
I mean, John Lindahl is
I like the vision.
Yeah, he's definitely a visionary.
But I wouldn't have done that personally. I think it's very out of nowhere and very jarring when you hear it.
Well, I feel like, I mean, I can definitely see that. I definitely don't think it was the best move, just because I feel like that stylistic jump is a hard thing to pull off.
Yeah. If it could even be
I feel
pulled
like
off.
I don't know. I don't even know if it can be pulled off, but if it can be, I think that this is an example of it, because I think Lindahl does that transition really well. I mean, especially like the connecting theme of just his voice, and those, that he still has his orchestral elements and forms of the strings. I can see it would be a bit jarring, but I can also see how like you could argue it kind of works.
How?
Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, he maintains some of the orchestral elements.
Does he? Isn't it just a guitar solo?
Isn't there strings to go alongside that?
Is there? See, this is why we should have listened to it. All right, put it on. I'll just play it here.
Yeah, play it on the big speakers. All right. So, is it recording?
Yeah, it's just that
Okay.
zoomed out.
Got you. Well,
After further inspection, I was right.
yes, he was right. There are no strings in that 80s rock part.
It's just synth and guitar and drums and bass.
Yeah. So it is a bit jarring from a stylistic standpoint. I definitely see that. God, I guess maybe it's just that I'm like so, kind of enamored by it.
Yeah.
That like I don't really think about that, but I do. It is kind of jarring.
Yeah. But the rest of the song, I mean, pretty good.
Again, it's it's fair to make criticism about against artists you love.
Yeah.
Not everyone's perfect. No one's perfect.
Of course. And we know Lindahl's listening to this. Hey, God bless you.
Hey, John.
Don't take what I said to the studio and not to the heart, as I like to say to my artists.
Exactly. To the studio, not to the heart. So do you want to talk a bit about the next track, The Greatest?
I think we're about to hit an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can do that next time. Maybe we can do like a song, an episode, because
because clearly
when we do one song, it takes us like 30 minutes to dissect 8 lyrics.
Well, I mean, it's Lindahl, you know?
You know, it is Lindahl. That is true.
Yeah. Well, then maybe we could just move on to
I think we should do the lore.
yeah, dissecting some of the Johnny lore that's been coming out. Well, we can do the greatest next episode.
Yeah. I think that's the move.
Although a little bit of a teaser. I think that the greatest is tied very deeply to Lenin's idea of the Vanguard Party.
Just keep it there.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
Teaser. All right. So, as probably no one knows, because if you are listening to this, you probably don't know John Lindahl. Or you do. I guess if you look up.
If you're listening to this, you probably know John Lindahl.
Okay, well then let me.
John Lindahl is much bigger than us.
No, what? Yeah, but what I'm saying
As
is,
we- as
it's
it
most
stands-
likely our friends and family listening. Not family, friends listening to this.
It's most likely our friends and John Lindahl.
yeah, and me.
I will use this to fall asleep at night
I mean, shit.
with your sultry ass voice, dude.
Shit, I'm gonna have to try that. Fuck the H3 podcast. Fuck the Deprogram podcast.
Lindahlian
Fuck
Theory
rain
Podcast.
sounds. The Lindahlian Theory
We beat
podcast.
out the fucking rain.
Fuck the rain. I am the rain.
Oh, gang shit.
So basically, John Lindahl is no more. He
Yes.
has become a character
Johnny.
known as Johnny. And Johnny is starring in a horror movie, we believe,
Yes.
called CC. That's
It's good. The acronym is CC.
the acronym is CC. That's that, or it is called CC. I mean, for all we know, we don't know.
I mean, even if it's called CC, CC is going to stand for something.
Or not.
Maybe not.
I don't know. Maybe he'll make his own definition.
Maybe. I mean,
We don't know yet.
he's definitely capable of that.
Definitely capable of it.
So I want to start by looking at just analyzing that first post, which is less of a lore post and more of an just an announcement, like, hey, doing a lore thing. So the big things we learned from that post are that his account's being taken over by a character whose name is Johnny, and Johnny is from 1989. And we also learn that every little detail is important. Okay? So we got to ask the question, why 1989? Now, I feel like an average person would hear that and think, oh, that's the name of a Taylor Swift album. Maybe it's like
That might be your first reaction.
maybe it's like an inspiration, but Lindahl is someone who, although he takes inspiration, he's always blazed his own path.
Yup.
So obviously 1989, there's also the musical reason of, like, you know, because it's an 80s inspired album, at least we assume it's an 80s inspired album. Just
No,
because-
it is.
I mean, because the last single he dropped was 80s inspired,
Yeah.
the characters from the 80s, it would make not a lot of sense if it wasn't an 80s inspired album.
Yeah. And it's not like he hasn't gone there before, as we just discussed in Famous.
Yeah, I mean, Famous has a ladies section, but the thing with 1989 is that I don't think it's. I think that from the musical perspective, you could say, like, oh, he has access to the influences of the entire decade because it's the last year, which, you know, is important because the 80s isn't just 1 year.
It's a decade.
Exactly. So if you were to set it in like 1984, wow, now you can't touch on any music from 1985, 1986, 1987, 1989.
Exactly.
And I would be satisfied with that answer if it weren't for Lindahl saying everything is intentional. Okay? So that means everything.
Yup.
So I want to get into some of the events that happened in 1989. And the biggest one, at least from our perspective, is across the Eastern Bloc in Eastern Europe, there were a series of revolutions that eventually led to the fall of the greatest socialist experiment, Soviet Russia. As the fall of he sort of seems to allude to this, the fall of the Soviet Union and the fall of many communist states around that area. And I find it's interesting, especially from the perspective of, and this is not Lindahl speaking. This is just my theory. So,
your Marxist interpretation.
My Marxist interpretation. So, this is a horror album. He's expressed that. He's expressed that in, I believe, a TikTok. Right?
It was a TikTok hashtag.
Yeah, it was a TikTok hashtag where he said, "What was it again?" Pull the TikTok.
Pull up the. I'll pull up the TikTok.
Yeah. He tagged.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Cosplay horror stories.
He tagged one of his posts cosplay horror stories. And also, a recurring theme has been the knife emoji.
Yes.
Like under the CC tag, knife emoji. So we can assume it's going to be like a horror themed album. Now, of course, as we know, after the downfall of the Soviet Union, there was a lot of bad things for the people. A lot of empty store shelves, a lot of people very dissatisfied.
Gazillion dead.
Gazillion dead. But in all seriousness, like the capitalist reforms that went under place in the Soviet Union were detrimental to a lot of people. I mean, that's why even today, a majority of people in Russia who lived in the Soviet era want it back.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if this album could be from the perspective of the sort of horrors that capitalism, at least like a newly formed capitalism, brought on to the people of the Eastern Bloc following those 1989 revolutions.
I think you're probably wrong, but
probably.
But I think
anything we say is probably wrong.
Yeah, that's true. But I think your theory is interesting, obviously, and I think it makes sense from our Marxist perspective, which we like to do on this podcast. Mm-hmm. We like to educate our listeners on Marxist theory. But I think what Lindahl is probably trying to say is that from what we are piecing together, from what he hasn't given us much yet. Mm-hmm. But from what we've gotten,
a couple TikToks,
we got one TikTok, one Instagram post,
1.5 kind of.
Well, really, just one piece of evidence, right?
Yeah.
Is John Lindahl would be starring as Johnny, and Johnny will be a character in a horror movie, and the horror movie will be played at Hargrove Cinemas.
Yes, Hargrove Cinemas is on the back of his jumper.
In the Instagram post that he put up, he is in a jumpsuit that has Johnny on it on the front, and on the back it says Hargrove Cinemas.
Which
so you can only,
if you look at the like the style of the badge, it looks like he's almost like a janitor,
like he works there.
Yeah, not like he's running the place, like he's a janitor.
So it's either Johnny is, well, then that brings up an interesting idea that either Johnny is a character in a movie that's being played at Hargrove Cinemas, or he is a worker at Hargrove Cinemas, rising up.
That
may be potentially striking.
That's actually
asking for workers' rights, healthcare.
That's actually really interesting.
Labor union formations, probably, maybe.
I mean, especially we've seen the rise of like the Amazon labor union, certain things like that.
There's a lot of recent news.
Yeah, and especially if Lindahl is playing this character of a laborer, he could be sort of, I guess you could say, like, capitalizing on that. Now, one thing I want to point out is that Hargrove Cinema is a real place in
Was it Georgia?
Yes, Sparta, Georgia.
Sparta, Georgia.
Sparta, Georgia.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Where I don't know where Lindahl's from.
Where is Lindahl from?
I don't know if you can. Is he big enough where you can Google that? Is he? He's not from Georgia, is he?
Where is John Lindahl from?
John Lindahl, if you're listening, go ahead and DM.
John, can you DM us just where you're from? He was born in Maryland.
Oh, I guess that makes sense actually, because I think that's where Logic's from.
Oh, okay.
So that makes sense.
I wonder, but what could be going on in Sparta, Georgia?
You want to go ahead and hey Jamie, can you pull that up?
What could be going on in Sparta, Georgia? That Okay.
What do we got?
Oh.
I don't like that face.
Oh.
Oh my god.
So apparently, there's a man named Ricky Dubose who is facing the death penalty for shooting 2 police officers.
Oh.
On a prison bus in
Oh.
Sparta, Georgia. That seems to be the biggest news story out of there. Do you think that could?
No.
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 What I am thinking though is how that relates to Cars 4.
There hasn't been a Cars 4, motherfucker. What I'm wondering is how that relates to planes.
Planes 2?
Did they make a Planes 2?
I don't know. I don't know. Fuck. Well,
I saw Planes in theaters.
you did?
Yeah.
Why?
I was a fucking kid, you know?
Were you?
In Planes?
Bro, I think a kid, bro, if you define a kid as being 15.
Planes came out in 2013.
Jesus, it did?
Yes.
Really?
So I was 10.
Oh my god. Is there a Planes 2?
If it came out in 2013.
I feel like I saw ads like not too long ago for Planes. I like a Planes movie.
They made a thing called Planes Fire and Rescue.
That's what I saw. When did that come out?
Planes Fire and Rescue came out 2014.
Oh, what? God damn.
Yeah. It fucked, weeb.
This is why you don't do funny things with your brain, okay? This is why you don't. This is why you don't read Karl Marx.
Makes you lose track of
Makes
time.
you feel a little dizzy.
So, but this Hargrove Cinemas thing.
I think that's just. I think we got it all. I don't know what it means still. We'll have to see for the next post.
It's
And the new song that will come out next Friday.
Very excited for that.
New John Lindahl song next Friday, May 13th. Friday the 13th. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Oh, of course not.
I think that's everything's intentional, as he has stated.
Here. Let me.
Oh, you're gonna bring up the shoes.
Because another thing was, again, everything's intentional.
Right,
Right?
let's bring up the
The
shoes.
last slide was a picture of him in some Nike shoes. I'm not sure specifically what kind of shoes they are, but I'm wondering, could these shoes be of? I mean, they have to be of some importance.
Yeah.
Like, why would he just send a picture of his feet other than to arouse me? I couldn't think of another reason.
Bro, never mind.
No, go ahead.
No,
Speak your mind.
I won't say
Speak
that.
your mind, motherfucker.
I don't know how the shoes are connected to anything yet, but They are white.
And
Yeah.
what about that?
There's nothing. That's what they are.
They are white.
Mm-hmm. That's literally all you can say about them. They are white. And they're Nike.
I wonder if, so a boot is a very common theme in depicting oppressing, like oppressed groups.
A boot?
A boot, yeah. Like a boot.
Like
coming down-
what Canadians?
No, a boot.
Yeah,
like
what?
Shut the fuck up.
Like what?
Footwear.
Like
footwear with a big thing going up the leg.
what are you talking about?
Boots.
Oh, like the character from Dora, yeah. I didn't know he was a symbol of communism.
But basically, a boot coming down on somebody's, like somebody is a symbol of oppression. And that's not just a communist thing. That's just everything. I mean, hell, libertarians use it to describe the state. But hell, libertarians use it to describe communism, which
hell, libertarians love children. I mean freedom.
Yes. That's.
I mean, they love the invisible hand of the market.
The invisible hand of the market. Getting a handy from the invisible hand of the market.
Having the invisible hand give children.
Getting
hand from Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Invisible hand of the market.
Getting head from the invisible. I mean,
invisible hand of the market, baby.
Selling children on the market.
There's a market. I mean. Okay.
I'm
getting
your own private property in order to sell.
So basically,
children are private property. I mean.
Stop digging this hole, Oliver. So these shoes could represent a couple things, because a boot is a common theme of oppression. It could represent both.
And a famous Canadian phrase.
Shut the fuck up. So the fact that it's Nike is important, because that's a massive corporation, arguably the biggest shoe corporation in the fucking world.
Arguably the biggest proponent for child labor.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do a lot of that child labor shit.
And libertarians love that.
Libertarians are big fans.
And they love giving head also to
you know that in the Communist Manifesto, one of the things the communists wanted was an ending of child labor.
The ending?
Yeah.
How could they?
I'm just saying. I mean, so every libertarian who supports child labor laws is a communist.
Goddamn right.
Goddamn commies.
Goddamn right.
But so I'm wondering if the fact that it's Nike symbolizes corporations oppressing the workers. Which I find interesting that he's wearing them, because maybe it's a symbol of fighting back. A symbol.
And that is the worst nightmare of the capital owners.
Exactly.
And that's how it connects to the horror theme.
Exactly.
Bro, it is truly all connected.
Now, one thing I also want to bring up is the caption.
I should comment. Here, let me comment.
The caption is Johnny and heresy. Now, Johnny is a pretty easy, Johnny is just the name of the character. Heresy is belief or opinion contrary to orthodox doctrine. Now, it generally specifies religious doctrine, but heresy doesn't have to be religious, especially in a lot of modern discourse. Heresy can refer to just anything that goes against popular opinion. So maybe he's kind of putting forward the
Go on. Why are you pausing? Go on.
Maybe he's just Maybe he's just putting forward the counterculture narrative that will be expressed by the character of Johnny. But the thing is, that's a very simple explanation. It's just Johnny is going to have do heresy.
I don't know.
Which it doesn't sound like John Lindahl to have a simple explanation for something like this.
That is true.
So I want to know
At
what
least in your head.
Yeah, I want to know what you think about this heresy thing.
Yep. Yep.
That's what you think about the heresy thing.
Yep.
That's what you think about the heresy thing, right?
Yep. Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
I think there's more to it. I'll be honest.
I don't think we'll know more until more evidence comes out.
You keep saying that, but we gotta piece some together.
Bro, it's one post.
It's one post. I know. Well, I mean, we also have the.
We do have the TikTok.
The TikTok, which pull that up.
I'll pull that up. Hey, Jamie, can you pull that up?
Jamie, can you pull up that TikTok?
All right, thank you.
So if you look at the,
Here, go ahead and play it. Oh, the volume. Turn the volume up. It's the rightmost knob, yeah.
I think I did it again. Very excited for that snippet.
That'll be.
drop.
I'm so excited for that to drop Friday.
Yeah.
At least I think that's the one.
But so I feel like so obviously the OOTD means outfit of the day.
I have a few problems with this. It seems like Johnny here is kind of flaunting his
Owen is speaking right now from the audience.
his attire, his material goods, saying he did it again, implying that he is always on his or in his bag, as you could say.
Well, actually, I wish we got a bit into this is the reason I wish we got a bit into the greatest, because actually on the greatest he comments a bit on being on his grind, which is I feel like a reference to sort of libertarian principles and how they conflict with Marxism.
He could be trapped, kind of trapped in the cycle of having to be on his grind in order to survive.
Well, okay. Well,
we were actually talking about this.
Well, okay. Well, I think we're getting a little. All we're doing right now, Owen, is we're not getting too deep into the interpretations right now. We're just trying to piece together the evidence.
But one thing I will say is that
and how it relates to Cars 4.
Oh, I see.
The evidence.
But what we were talking about is we think that he's very intentionally looking from the perspective, because this is a worker's uniform.
Yeah.
It seems to be a janitor.
Very interesting, actually.
A janitor of some sorts.
Yeah.
Specifically at a place called Hargrove Cinemas.
Yeah.
Which is on the back of the jumper. You can't see it here, but in the
but
Instagram post, it says Hargrove Cinemas.
But we'll discuss that more with you later, because we've already talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, when the podcast ends, we'll fill me up. Drop the knowledge on you.
So let's talk. I feel like
Is that your English book?
Yeah.
Why did you bring your English book? Oh yeah, I totally forgot we did that.
You want me to read a passage?
No, I don't want you to read a passage.
All right. So let's really talk about this. Let's talk about these captions.
Why the knife emoji?
The knife emoji, because this is a horror themed album. Again, these are things we've touched on. You can re-listen to the podcast if you'd like. Don't waste our fucking time.
Okay.
This is precious.
All right, we're over an hour.
I must go.
That's okay. That's okay. We're wrapping up.
All right.
But let's talk about the tags on the post. Can you pull it back up?
Yeah.
Because I feel like Jamie, can you pull up that TikTok? I feel like the tags are pretty important. So we have I Think I Did It Again, which is obviously a
reference to the song.
The song CC, again, that's the name of the album. We need to get to what we think that could stand for. OOTD, outfit of the day, 80s vibe, it's 80s cosplay horror stories. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because that shows that's how we know this is a horror album. That's how we know that there is horror for some reason. And then he gets into mystery, and specifically mystery toy, which I wonder what that means.
I have no idea.
Now here, if we click on that that tag, we see that mystery toy is actually a like a thing among kids, where they reveal the toy. Now this is a very clear product of capitalism, right? Like, look at this. This is capitalism at work.
Oh yeah.
And I'm wondering if he is just sort of alluding to the anti-capitalist messages of this worker. Like, he's looking at these abhorrent things produced by capitalism and, incorporating that into the character.
He could be.
He could be.
I don't ever want to go on this hashtag ever again. Thank God.
I regret clicking it.
That was awful.
So then we keep looking, we found some that make sense. New artist on TikTok. He's a new artist on TikTok. Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny. Here is Johnny. This is a video of Johnny. Artist talk, Halloween costume ideas. That's interesting.
Makes sense.
Then blow this up for me. Blow this up, please, and thank you. It's fair. Man wants his clout. Who doesn't? One that I'm really curious about is hashtag Laurel Road for Nurses.
You want to click that?
I didn't look into this before we've got on this podcast. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Go ahead.
We're going to click on it. Hey, Jamie's going to pull that up.
Jamie, pull it.
Laurel Road for Nurses.
What?
What the
1.4 billion views.
Wow.
What is this?
It seems to just be a sort of appreciation tag for nurses.
What?
So it seems to be like an appreciation thing. A thing for
like you Happy National Nurses Day. Thank you, nurse. Was it like maybe it was Nurses Day when he posted, I guess.
Well, I mean, but I wonder if this ties it, because again, everything's intentional.
That's true.
I wonder if maybe we need to question his occupation a bit more. What if he's not a janitor? What if he's a nurse?
Okay, but what nurse
Works exclusively for a cinema?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
And wears a jumpsuit.
All nurses wear jumpsuits.
No, they don't. What? There's
mean?
one right there.
Yeah,
that's not a jumpsuit. Those are two different. Those are two separate clothings right there. Don't try and spin this.
Okay.
Now that's a stretch.
If you look at it through Mark.
Now that's a stretch.
You look at jumpsuits through the perspective of the Gotha Programma. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah. I actually don't have the answers for this.
Maybe we will next time.
Just Jamie, keep a tab on nurses. Some with nurses.
Oh yes, yeah. But maybe next time we'll find out on the.
Hold up, before we close off, let's talk about CC. What do you think CC means?
Besides being the way to measure how much semen is in one's genitals, I'm assuming one of the C's stands for cinema, from what we can tell so far. Now the other C, God only knows. And Lindahl. I guess they're the same thing.
Capital
cinema. And that
concludes the Lindahlian Theory Podcast.
Hosted by
Ethan Haslauer
and Oliver Lorgen.
Please tune in next week.
Dear Lord.
When we will dissect.
Dear God.
We will dissect the greatest and do whatever the fuck else. Oh, no, we're not dissecting the greatest next week. We're dissecting his new fucking song next week.
Oh, that's true.
He's dropping new
He's
fucking
dropping a new
music.
song. Yeah, we'll have to do that.
That comes next week.
Thank y'all for listening. Hit that bell, subscribe.
Hit the subscribe button if you're listening on Spotify.
Hit the thumbs
hit the
up.
follow button.
Hit the notification.
If you're listening on fucking Deezer.
Hit that.
What do you do on Deezer?
Hit that skip
Hit
button.
that D's, dude. Come D's us, dude.
I think saying Deezer with the hard R was a little offensive there. I think we have to cut that one out.